Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So if you don't know or you aren't good with faces, my name is Josh Light and I am the family pastor here. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to speak with you guys this morning. Even just being reminded, what Anthony said at the beginning, this is a new year. This is completely new. We will never have 2016 again. You guys made it through it. I don't know about you, but sometimes it feels like those hard times are extremely difficult, like you'll never get through it. And if you had that this past year, you now know you've made it through it. You can look at it and say that God helped you through this. That's a huge thing. 1 year ago, on December 2nd, a beautiful baby boy was born. His name was Ezra Light, and I became a dad. It was an incredible year, and I tell you, yes, at times I wished I never knew sleep because I missed it so much. But for him, he learned so much. He learned eye contact, he learned to smile, he learned to laugh. He learned to do this fake cough with me, which was weird. He ate bananas. He started walking. He started saying "Dada" and "Mama," "Dada" more than "Mama." That was pretty awesome. And he also did the same thing over and over again. He learned to exhaust me. I don't know how, but this little one that doesn't know anything, this little guy could exhaust me like no other. It's just incredible. That 1 year, that first year, went by so fast. It's gone. It's gone. And though it was joyful, tiring, awesome, at times depressing, and definitely a pride-filled time, that first year I will never get that back. On his first birthday, I remember thinking that night, that year's gone. That year's gone. It was fun. The first time it was hard, but it's gone. I will never have that time back. And I caught myself thinking before I fell asleep, did I make the best use of my time with Ezra? With my wife? With myself? With living for Jesus? With that answer came the realization, I can't. I will never have that. I will never have that time back. I can't do anything about it. The past is in the past. The past is in the past. I remember saying to myself, I did a pretty good job. I know I could have done better, but I can't change anything. I can't change anything. No matter how hard I wanted to, I couldn't change anything. The simple fact is, we can only change the future. We need to focus on the future. Ephesians 5:15 through 16 says this, "So be very careful how you live. Do not live like people that are not wise. Live like people who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity. The days are evil." Sounds true today, still true. Living with urgency or living to make the most out of every opportunity does not mean to live recklessly, though. Does not mean that. What Paul means here is to live with a dedicated recklessness, which sounds awesome to me. Dedicated recklessness. It sounds almost like a safe form of just going wild. To honor God with a dedicated passion to make each moment count for righteousness. That means we must be intentional about our choices. Every choice. Taking care that we use our moments wisely as we live a life and character different from the world around us. Because we're dedicated to Jesus Christ. How important is time, Julian? Important. Would you guys agree? Yeah. Time is extremely important, nothing new. It is extremely important because it's extremely valuable. What do we celebrate on a yearly basis? Yeah.
Okay.
Christmas. We celebrate holidays. What's something we celebrate and that's quite important for you? Birthdays! Birthdays are extremely important. Your parents probably have anniversaries every year. We have traditions on a yearly basis. It is extremely important. We value time. We even organize time with planners, calendars, and clocks. We organize time. Time is valuable because it is scarce. We have a limited amount of it. And what it means when it's scarce is there's only a certain amount of it that we have. It becomes valuable because we can't get enough to satisfy our needs. Okay, so I established that time is valuable to all of us. Something new that you never heard of before, right? Something incredible. But what we need to be reminded on a daily basis is this. We only have, today, we only have 24 hours. 24 hours. That's 1,440 minutes. That's 86,400 seconds. That's 86,400 seconds. And do you know this? Every one of those seconds is a precious gift from God. Every one of those. If anybody has lived life, you know that every one of those seconds are important. Time is something we feel we never have enough of, right? Yet, we do give it away quite easily, which is kind of funny. And someone once said, time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. And once you've lost it, you can never get it back. You can never get it back. So how many of you would say your time is valuable? Okay, good. It's a good handful. How many of you would say you use your time well each day? Each day. Good, good. A little less that time. And this is the last question for now. How many of you would like to be less stressed about your time? Less stressed. That's good. That's good. Me too. That's awesome. How would you like to use it more efficiently to do more for God and be confident that you're using your time well? Would you like that? Would you like to be confident? I think that's encouraging to me. Awesome. Okay, so first, we're going to have to answer 3 questions so that I can answer this for all of you, okay? So fix everything. We're going to answer 3 questions. Question number 1. What is God's plan for your time? What is God's plan for your time? God created each of us, and we've already sung about it, in His image. We are His children. In Genesis 1, we read that then God said, "Let us make human beings so that they are like us. Let them rule over the fish in the seas and the birds in the sky. Let them rule over the livestock and all the wild animals. Let them rule over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created human beings in His own likeness. He created them to be like Himself. He created them as male and female. God created human beings to be like Him. God created us to be like Him. To be like Him. In His likeness. We find throughout Scripture who God is. He is just. He is loving. He is generous. He is merciful. He is gracious. He is forgiving. He's a teacher, etc., etc. He's so many things. All these great things. Also in Genesis we read that sin entered the world because of Adam and Eve not listening to God, right? They ate from the apple, from the tree, that the only thing that they weren't supposed to do. But because of this, we were, I want to emphasize, were prisoners to sin. We were prisoners to sin. But God didn't give up on us right there. But God didn't give up on us. Instead, God's plan was for all to be saved. So what did He do? He sent His Son from heaven to earth to die on a cross for all of us. For all of us. Every single one of us in this room. Every single person in this world. Every person in your workplace. All of them. This gift to be united with Him forever isn't just a coupon to go to heaven free admission. That's not just what it is. What it includes is to live with Jesus and to live others as Jesus to them now. To live like that now. To live heaven bound. To live like you know that's where you're going. To live with a dedicated recklessness. Dedicated recklessness. So he wants all to be saved. So who does that mean? Everyone. Every single person. That means your child, your parent, your friend, your coworker, your boss, the president. Everyone. Everyone. The president. The angry customer. Every single person. Why? Because they were all created in God's image. They were all created in God's image. That means they have enormous potential. They were created like God, and they have enormous potential. God's use for your time. So, question number 2. What is your plan for your time? What is your plan for your time? Do you even have a plan for your time? Or do you just give it away easily? Are you intentional about your time at home, with your family, at work, or in the community? It has been said that time is not wasted in hours, but in minutes. Not in hours, but in minutes. You guys probably noticed this bucket right here. Okay? If there was a hole in it, it would be wasted just the same as if it was dumped out. Just as if it was dumped out. It wouldn't make any difference. Time is wasted not in hours, but in minutes. What I mean by this is you are a culmination of where you spent your time. The culmination of where you spent your time. So I would like you to think or write down, you're free to write at any time, write down a hole in your time bucket. What is a hole in your time bucket that you want to address this year? That you want to address today? That you want to address for tomorrow and the rest of this year? Where have you spent too much time and wished you wouldn't? I have 2 plants over here. One says family. The other says Netflix. Yes, I do have a problem with Netflix at times. If I spend my time, my precious time, and a lot of it's already spent work and other places that are important as well, and that's how I prioritize. If I spend it there when I get home, the majority of it there, and my family gets what is left. My family gets what's left. Sometimes we might be able to say, we're also spending time with our family. I'm not saying that watching TV is wrong or anything, but our priorities are what is important to us, and they also make us who we are. So by saying that Netflix for me is important, and I'm just giving them whatever is left over, I'm saying Netflix is more important than my family. I'm prioritizing that more than my family to me. The good news is, though, we can change. No matter that time bucket, it can be patched. Those holes can be patched. We can change. We can choose where to spend our time. So we looked at the past, at God's plan. We looked at our current plan. Now we're going to look towards the future. How do you want to use your time? How do you want to use your time? And here's a better question. If you guys remember, I said, you are a culmination of where you spend your time. So then the better question for me to ask instead would be, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? How do you want to spend your time? Instead, who do you want to be this year? The easy part is, this is easy for me because I don't have to answer it for you. This is your question. So take a moment, think about it. I'm going to get a drink. Who do you want to be? Okay. You probably already have that on the top of your mind, hopefully. If your answer was, I want to be the best I can be, or at the very least, I want to be a good person, then I can share some ideas that might be able to reinforce or shape your future. And here's number one. Be passionate. Be passionate about your priorities. Be passionate. Here's a little story for you. Industrialist Charles Schwab was a key figure in Andrew Carnegie's steel empire. Frustrated with his inability to get everything done, does that sound familiar to anyone? He once reluctantly agreed to meet with a consultant named Ivy Lee, who was recommended to him by John D. Rockefeller. Schwab was had little use for consultants, but since Rockefeller recommended Lee so highly, he scheduled the meeting. Lee's proposal was elegantly simple, okay? He told Schwab to make a list of the 6 most important things he could do the next day to further the overall health and function of U.S. Steel. At the end of the day, he would review the list, those 6 priorities, review the list and move anything that had not been finished to the next day's list. And then he would add up so that totaled 6 again. And within 15 minutes, the meeting was concluded. It was done. 15 minutes, that's all it took. Lee told Schwab to follow this practice for 30 days. 30 days. And then send him payment on how much he thought the advice was actually worth. So, Schwab thought was worth. After that month ended, Schwab sent Lee a check for $25,000. That was in 1918, okay? In 2015, it would be worth $400,000. He thought that advice was pretty spectacular. It changed the industry. So what I'm getting at is to make the most of every opportunity. To make the most of every opportunity, we first must prioritize what we believe is most important to us, okay? Imagine with me approaching everything you did in life with passion. Imagine approaching everything you did in life with passion. Your faith, your work, your family, your rest. Everything you did in life with passion. John Wesley stated, light yourself on fire with passion, and people will come from miles around to watch you burn. It's attractive. Passion is attractive, and you will love the difference it makes in your life. You won't regret it. You won't regret it. So feel free to write down any of those as you see fit. Idea number 2 for you. So be passionate about your top priorities. Budget your time. Budget your time. Luke 14:28 states, "For which of you wanting to build a tower doesn't first sit down and calculate the cost of it to see if he has enough to even complete it?" Many of you have budgets for the money you earn. You want to make sure you spend it where you need it, right? You want your money to go where you want it to go. You don't want somebody else to spend your money. You first need to know how much you have, right? That's obvious. Then you're tied to God. What bills you need to pay, groceries, house, apartment, living with mom and dad expenses, food and money that you might want to save, and maybe some entertainment money at the end for you to enjoy. When you have a plan, you feel safe, especially when the income is consistent. But at the very least, you know what to expect. When that mortgage bill comes in the mail, you're not, where did that come from? I have no idea. That must be the neighbors. That's not what you know is coming. You know what to expect. Now, what happens if I threw this out the window and said, I want to buy that new car. I'm tired of having that car that just always kicks the bucket. It always is falling apart, and I always have to take in. I just want to buy a new car, so I'm going all out. And then I can't afford my mortgage, I can't afford some of the bills that I need to pay. Well, I might be in some trouble. And even though I like that new car, I know I don't like how people are coming to my house, or they're calling me about my debt, or such. We should handle time the same way. Budget it. Budget our time. Know where you're spending it and what you're spending it on. If I don't want to pay as much for my house, then I might think about that, downsizing. If I'm tired of spending 60 hours at my job every week, and my priority is my family, and I'm losing that time with them, I might think about finding another job. Or switching things up and making sure my family is getting met, that priority is being met. Here's a thought for any other busy bees out there who may have their schedule packed. Relationships are important to God. You guys know this. Relationships are important to God. They're important to Jesus followers, and that means they should be important to us too. Jesus traveled great distances to speak with people. Great distances to speak with people about who God intended them to be, to heal them, and just to love on them. That's what he did. Jesus didn't always just rush off after speaking. If you guys remember, the crowd of people and the woman who touched Jesus' robe, there was probably many people around in that crowd pushing each other, and Jesus probably felt many of them. But the one that he discerned was the woman that touched his robe. And he stopped. He stopped. Sometimes things don't go perfectly the way you plan it. People interrupt our life. Things change. But people are what's important to God. Not perfection, how we see it. One of my favorite historical moments, okay, is when parents and people brought kids to Jesus to bless them and to pray for them. And then these righteous disciples, what do? They stop them. They stop them. Why? Well, they probably were thinking these kids are going to interrupt important words that Jesus had to say. Or they were going to slow them down. They thought they knew what was best. Jesus had a different plan. It's okay to be interrupted. Also, start thinking like an investor. Start thinking like an investor with all that you do. The best way to shape a child's character and faith is through small, consistent deposits. Small, consistent deposits into their life. There is no such thing as an instant return on character or faith. It takes time. It takes time. And this is one that I have fun learning about. Stop saying you don't have enough time with your top priorities, such as date or family night, time with God, or your health, and so forth. Look at the person next to you. Go ahead and do it. Look at the person next to you. Go ahead and say hi so it doesn't get weird. Now, did you know that person next to you has the same amount of time as you do? 24 hours. Do you know the parents of 2 here? They don't have 4 extra hours than the rest of us. Though they probably wish they would. And they won't receive 4 more when they have that 3rd child. Though they very much wish they would. And the CEO of a $1 million company doesn't have 12 extra hours in his day to accomplish everything on his to-do list. What does he have in common with us? He has to adjust his time budget. He has to adjust his time budget, just like all of us new families, or things that change. You're going to a new job. It's rough, but we have to adjust our time budget. instead of saying, I don't have enough time, okay? Remember I said that. Don't have enough time for date night. God or my child, any of those. Say, I am not going to make the time for date night. Just don't say that loud, okay? Don't say that loud. But say that in your head. It sounds bad, right? Ugh. I don't have enough time for date night. I've been too busy. I'm not going to make the time for date night. That's my choice, right? That's my choice. It's an easy way, though. This is an easy idea for us to check ourselves. That we're making our priorities our priorities. That they're the top things. We're not letting anything distract us, or we're not letting anything come in front of that. We are making that important. 1 Timothy 6:12, fight the good fight for the faith. Take hold of eternal life that you were called to, and have a good confession about in the presence of many witnesses. This year, make a declaration to take your time back. Take your time back. Take from everything that tries to take it from you. Everything. Fight the enemy of distraction. Fight the enemy of distraction. I encourage you to delete 2 apps that distract you, that you know have no part in helping you this week. I encourage you maybe to, like me, to maybe stop watching 1 or 2 shows that you don't need to watch. I encourage you to work less if possible. And you know if you're that person, if you can do it. I implore you to make every moment count with your kids, at work, with your spouse, at home, at church, in the community, at the grocery, in the restaurant. You get the idea. Father, Lord, I thank you for love, the image that you put inside of us. We are worthwhile. We are loved. We are cared about. Help us to live a life of passion, making the most of these moments. Help us to budget our time and make relationships matter in our life. Help us make the most of this life. We love you. Guide us in this ways. Encourage us and strengthen us. You are this December. I started this marble jar in early December. Each one of these marbles in here, there's 851 of them. Each one of them represents 1 week. The average child from infancy to graduation, there's about 936 weeks. 936 weeks from when they're born to when they graduate to influence them. I have 851. That first year went by very quickly. And though there's